So the 2021 draft is officially in the books. When do you start prospecting? When do you start watching film for the 2022 guys now? Like, when does that happen for you?
Well, so for this class, I finished up my big board a couple days ago, and I
Mhm.
finished, and I was just like kind of sitting there. I was like, I don't know what to do now. So then I started watching some Spencer Rattler tape for 2022. I'm probably actually going to spend the rest of today looking at some of the bigger names, kind of gauge how they look. I like to get in on the quarterback class early, especially having a good idea of these prospects for when the college football season actually starts is always a plus, and kind of getting through as many guys as I can early on is always good.
I'll ask you before I let you go. Looking at South Carolina for the 2022 class, I'll be honest, I don't know that there's really a lot of guys that stand out. Maybe a JJ Nigbare, maybe a Zach Pickens. I mean, is there anybody from South Carolina that stood out to you at all that could be a prospect for 2022?
I am very excited about Kevin Harris if he were to declare.
Good point. He could declare. You are correct. That is a good point.
He's I mean, he's a kind of just a rugged another guy who just plays football really hard, and I'm always going to fall for those types of guys.
Mhm.
And I mean, he was the best part about, I think, watching South Carolina at times last year. Just his contact balance, but he's got the burst to rip off big runs. I'm pretty excited about him. I also am interested in Nick Muse, who opted to return, and he's a guy who at times last year, it wasn't a deep tight end class this year, and he was a name that was kind of creating some buzz in the draft community as maybe a day 3 kind of developmental guy. So I'm pretty excited to see what he brings to the table. But I mean, Pickens is really interesting too. Just when you see a guy that big with that type of athletic skill, you can kind of start projecting that maybe a breakout season's coming this year. And so that's definitely a name to watch. I mean, South Carolina puts guys in the NFL every year, and I'm I'm they're I used to go to obviously I'm from Canada, but I used to go to Myrtle Beach back in the day every kind of March break or whatever. And so I have a bit of a soft spot for the Gamecocks.
Love to hear that. We love to hear that, Rob. That's why we had you on the show. Rob Paul, again, aka Bobby Football, 7 Rounds in Heaven. I appreciate you doing this, man. Tell us about 7 Rounds in Heaven, the show, what it's about, obviously, and where people can find you. I'd love for you to plug the show real quick.
We're on all the platforms you can get your podcast. It's NFL draft content year round. So
if you
during
love football, you're going to love this show. Bottom line.
Yeah. We really get into the prospects early. Over the summer, we go through each conference and talk about the guys who we're interested in for the upcoming draft. During the season, it's a lot of looking at the college football season from the draft view, who's impressing us each week, who to get excited about. And then obviously right now is like the big time. We're going to start grading everything, even though you never really know if a guy's good until 3 years into his career. So the grades are a little bit meaningless, but it's still fun to talk about it.